Thank you, Reese. Tonight, ESPN's College Football Bowl road trip continues from Fort Worth, Texas, with the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl. We'll have a crowd of over 30,000 here at Amon G. Carter Stadium on campus at TCU, as Tulsa at 8-4, representing Conference USA, faces Utah out of the Mountain West Conference with a record of 7-5. Going to its second straight ball game and its third in the last 4 seasons. Good evening, everybody. Mike Patry along with Todd Blackledge. It's great to have you with us. Holly Rowe will join us shortly. Tulsa got off to a great start this year, winning 7 of its first 8 games and cracking the top 25, but things got a little sluggish at the end. Todd, they lost 3 of their last 4.
Yeah, a little different than last year when they won 7 of their last 8 heading into the Liberty Bowl, but they've got a couple of outstanding leaders on both sides of the ball. First on offense, it's their junior quarterback, Paul Smith, had another outstanding season, completed over 60% of his passes, 2,600 yards, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The defense, which led the Conference USA in total defenses, led by their linebacking group. Nick Bunning, a 4-year starter, is the leader of that Tulsa defense.
Utah had a disappointing season, 7-5, not up to their recent standards, but they lost to some good ball clubs, including BYU in that crushing regular season finale.
Crushing is right. The very last play of the game, and they played very well, and particularly their quarterback, who played outstanding down the stretch. Brett Ratliff, over the last 5 games, played outstanding football, 278 yards per game, 11 touchdowns against only 1 interception. And then on the defense, Eric Weddle may be one of the best players in the country that not a whole lot of people know about. He's a defensive back, but he does a whole lot more, plays on a lot of special teams, also has an offensive package. The conference Defensive Player of the Year the last 2 seasons.
We're in Fort Worth, Texas for the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl, and kickoff is next.
Good evening. We are here tonight to watch a great football game and honor the men and women of our armed forces. These brave individuals are around the world. They are on the field for us. It is a privilege for Textron and Bell Helicopter to recognize them. To service members past and present, we salute your courage and strength. Thank you. Enjoy the game.
This telecast is available on ESPN HD, presented by Pioneer Plasma. Our Holly Rowe will work the sidelines for us tonight. Let's check in with Holly right now. Holly?
Well, guys, you talked about Eric Weddle, that do-everything player for the University of Utah, and boy, is he ever. Tonight, you will see him at quarterback. They have about a 6-play package for him. Guys, he has scored 5 times on offense this year, but that's not even the end of it. He has played 10 different positions for Utah in his career, including running back, holder, even punter. The Tulsa players told us that they had a great scout team player named Tyler Sokolowski that did a great job giving them a look at Weddle, but the hardest part will be seeing when he's in the game, where he's lined up at, and how they can hurt him. There was an old children's book, guys, called Where's Waldo? Tonight, I think for Tulsa, it's got to be Where's Weddle?
Well, he's everywhere, that's for sure. Against Brigham Young, he played 91 of a possible 150 snaps. Or against Air Force, and when the game was over, Coach Fisher DeBerry said, son, they're cheating you. You ought to have 2 scholarships, not just 1. And he is about as pleasant a young man as you could imagine. And we'll have a lot more on him as the game goes along. Kyle Whittingham, in his 2nd year, succeeded Urban Meyer. He has gone 7-5 both seasons and won the Emerald Bowl a year ago. And Steve Cragthorpe, in his 4th season at Tulsa as the head coach, he has really turned that program around. A school that had won only 2 games the previous 2 years before his arrival. He has become a fixture there, and they're trying to make sure they do everything in the world to keep him at Tulsa. and he seems very satisfied there. One of those people that really believes in quality of life more than where is the next coaching job in the next 5 minutes. Kickoff coming up from Fort Worth when we come back. Fort Worth, Texas on a chilly, clear night. And it's time for a little holiday football, the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl. Tulsa and Utah. Tulsa in white, Utah in red. And that's Ben Vroman getting ready to kick it away. And Dexter Taylor, number 7, is deep to receive.
This game being played on the campus of TCU, who won their bowl game in convincing fashion earlier this season already against Northern Illinois. Probably the best win that Utah had this season was against the TCU Horned Frogs.
Taylor 3 yards deep, and he'll keep it there. Time now to meet Tulsa starters on offense.
Hi, I'm Paul Smith, the fast-talking quarterback from the University of Tulsa. We rotate 4 running backs, but I will mention number 34, Brandon Dials. He is the only senior, and he will be playing his final game. At the wide receiver positions, I'll mention the 2 boys from California, Ryan Bugg and Idris Moss. Moving on to the offensive line. We have 4 seniors at the offensive line, as you can see here. So those are the guys I'll talk about. Thanks for highlighting them.
He's pretty sharp, isn't he?
He is. Well, he said he wants to get into the youth ministry and or work for ESPN. I think he's got a good leg up on either course.
Terrion Adams will start at running back for Tulsa. He's number 25, and Smith is in the shotgun. Adams picks up a couple. It's time to meet Utah starters on defense.
Hi, I'm Eric Weddle, starting defensive back for the University of Utah, going through the starting lineup for the Utah defense. On the defensive line, we got Big Kels. We call him the Thing or Sasquatch. He's a beast. At linebacker crew, we got Joe Giannone. He's a tackling machine. You got to watch out. And through the DBs, we got Bryce McCain, the fastest man in the world, and the Bass Brothers, Casey Evans and Steve Tate, rounding out the defensive backs.
That is not the last we will hear from Mr. Weddle tonight. Little flanker screen to Moss. Blocking in front. Moss across the 40-yard line for a first down. Donnie Johnson threw him a good block gain of 17. Moss, a big-time receiver, started his career at UCLA.
Well, Donnie Johnson, watch the block he's going to get on Eric Weddle, number 32. He is the key guy to block on this play. Donnie Johnson locks him up, and Idris Moss is able to slip it back inside. But if you don't get that block on Weddle, this play has no chance. Excellent job by Donnie Johnson blocking for his fellow wide receiver, and a big play for the Tulsa offense.
Tenale comes in at running back, and Tenale will get his first carry and takes it out to the 45-yard line. Tenale transferred from Oklahoma when he was playing his high school ball. He broke the state record for a single season rush for 3,426 yards as the senior. That's 300 yards a game.
Yeah, 36 touchdowns to go with it. Redshirted at Oklahoma in 2003, didn't play in 04, and joined Tulsa last season.
So they have benefited from some outstanding transfer talent. Smith on the run, throws too high, intended for Donnie Johnson.
I like this Tulsa offense. They do a lot of different things. Charlie Stubbs is the offensive coordinator, very creative guy, and you've got a quarterback in Paul Smith who's very bright, a high school coach's son. He understands the game. He prepares very well. And so they do a lot of things with him. They move the pocket a lot. He throws the ball extremely well on the run. He also runs the ball effectively. It's a very diversified offense that makes you defend a lot of different things.
Completes 2/3 of his passes. Here comes the blitz. And they got there. Pretty good protection up front. Had time, but Steve Tate looked like the 7th man who was coming on a blitz. Finally got there and got the sack.
Yeah, here's Tate right here, coming right up the middle, unblocked. They brought more than Tulsa could pick up. Safety blitz, snuck right in there between a couple bigger bodies. And when the pressure comes right up the middle of the quarterback, that's the hardest to avoid. If it comes on the outside, you can step up and avoid it a lot easier.
Kindred comes on to punt, and Marquise Wilson is back. Runs up on this, takes it at the 34, and takes it across the 40-yard line. Now let's meet the Utah starters on offense.
Hi, I'm Brent Castile, San Francisco, California, representing the University of Utah. Right now, I want to introduce the starting lineup, starting with the receivers. Next to me, I have Marquise Wilson. On the side of him, I have Brian Julio Hernandez to start on the starting line. We have Robert I'm So Cool Conley. On the other side of him, we have Tavo Tupola.
Very dangerous to have guys introduce their teammates because they can lay some of those nicknames on them. Here's Castile, one of their favorite plays. He's actually a wide receiver, but gets an awful lot of carries and has that speed to get to the outside. Tulsa linebacker Nick Bunting now introduces us to his defense.
We play the odd stack, the 3-3-5. We got the 3 big boys up front. The big guy holding it down in the middle, big Terrell Nimmons. Going back to the linebackers, my partners in crime, Chris Chamberlain, number 32, and Nelson Coleman in the middle, number 55. Back to the safeties, got my roommate, Big Ked, Kedrick Alexander. And at the corners, we got Nick Graham out there sitting on 22s, holding people down.
Bunting was all conference all 4 years as Ratliff on the keeper.
Bunting was the Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year, as voted on by the coaches in that league. The tackling machine. He stayed healthy. Came to Tulsa as a 185-pound running back out of high school. Made the switch to defense, got bigger, stronger, and has had an outstanding career as a linebacker for this team.
Eric Weddle, the All-American, is in. He's number 32. He'll take the direct snap from center. They love to run him out of this formation, and he just seems to be able to pick his way for extra yards. Doesn't have great speed as a running back, just seems to get yardage.
Well, he knows how to play football. You know, Andy Ludwig said he's got a good feel for running the football. If he was a tailback full-time, he'd be a 1,500-yard rusher from the tailback position. Very seldom does he lose yardage. He knows how to wait for his blocks and gets that ball moving forward.
From the 44, Ratliff, here comes the blitz. And neither quarterback has done a good job at avoiding pressure so far. Nelson Coleman came straight up the middle, and isn't the quarterback's responsibility to get rid of that one?
Yeah, he doesn't see it coming soon enough. Coleman coming unblocked off the outside. Both these offensive lines have done a great job of protecting their quarterback. Each team had only allowed 14 sacks coming into this ballgame. That's very low over a 12-game season, but both defenses have registered a sack early in the first quarter.
2nd and 18. Four-man rush this time. Plenty of time for Ratliff. And he throws complete to Hernandez, who was bothered all season long by off-season ankle injury and is really just getting healthy. Averaged over 18 yards a catch a season ago. This year, because of the ankle, that was cut in half.
It's a pretty deep receiving core. They don't have any one guy that's been the dominant guy. They've got about 7 guys they rotate through. A lot of speed at that wide receiver position. Of course, this spread offense that Urban Meyer had, you have to recruit a lot of wide receivers, so they still have those guys in the program, even though the offense is a little different.
Brandon Godfrey is on as an extra wide receiver in this package, and Hernandez makes the catch again. He's down to the 33-yard line, so Utah moving the ball effectively on its opening possession.
I think you see the arm strength of Brett Ratliff on a throw like that as well. I mean, he is probably more of a drop-back passer than maybe the spread option type guy, and so they've changed the offense. They've given him more situations where he drops and throws. And again, over the last 5 games of the season, he has played extremely well. Struggled through the first 7. But the last 5 weeks, he's played about as well as any quarterback in college football.
Castile, the motion man. They fake it to him and come back with a flanker screen. Ball's on the ground as Derek Richards made the catch and was hit by Chamberlain and coughed it up.
Brett Ratliff came in and played the last 2 games last year when Brian Johnson got hurt. So then he was the starter this year. They decided to redshirt Brian Johnson. The first 7 games wasn't quite as easy as it was the last 2 games of 2005. But the last 5 games, he's played very well. That's Brian Johnson, young man out of Baytown, Texas, played outstanding as a sophomore. He was Alex Smith's backup as a freshman. Injured his knee in the 10th game last year, had surgery in December. He'll be back next year.
Movement up front, and flags are down. Todd, back to the first offensive play when they ran Ratliff. Since he doesn't run as much as this offense used to have with the option-style quarterback, you think that's what they try to establish early, is get him out there to give the defense an idea that he will run?
Well, I think you want to try to make that defense respect a lot of different things. And part of this offense, whether your quarterback's running or running the option, you still want to spread that defense out and make them run sideline to sideline, because it makes them defend the whole field and it wears them out a little bit. So the quarterback will still run. And Ratliff is a better than adequate runner when he does tuck the football and keep it.
2nd and 13. They love these screen plays. Hernandez is wrapped up quickly by Coleman. And you've got to have a lot of speed to cover this stuff. I mean, when you get the ball to a wide receiver, this is almost a substitution as a running play, but it can break it for a big one at any time.
The strength of this Tulsa defense is their linebackers. I mean, they're an experienced group. The 3 of them have 104 career starts between them in Bunting, Chamberlain, and Coleman, and they really do a great job of reacting quickly to what they see.
3rd and 12. Underneath Hernandez. They think they found something over there on that side. They just keep going back to him. Julian McGowan took him out of bounds, but it will be 4th down.
Looks like there's a little indecision here, and here they come late.
Be a 46, 47-yard line from here, and one of the many jobs that Weddle has is the holder for field goals and extra points. So the fake is always an option.
That's right. Always in play with a guy like that.
But they also have a fine kicker in Sakota. This would be a 45-yard try, which would be his long for the season. Just a little bit of a hook on it and plenty to pump it right down the middle. So Utah takes the early lead here in Fort Worth. It's 3-0 Utes. Display of military hardware ever at a bowl game, and a lot of military personnel on hand here tonight for our game, and we salute them for everything they have done for us. And it was a lot of fun for there were a lot of kids out at the displays and got to sit in helicopters. Taylor will bring it out. Woo! Lit up at the 15. Holy cow. Stevenson Sylvester. Yikes. Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, after that first Tulsa offensive possession, the team came over to the sideline and there was a lot of discussion going on. It looks like Utah came out with a new wrinkle on defense. Steve Crowcourt came over and talked to his team and said, guys, they're just playing a 4-2 with zone behind that. He's trying to get them to just rely on that 4-2 knowledge that they've retained over the season, because Utah pulling out a new wrinkle so far on defense.
We know, Holly, the other part of that wrinkle is some new players in that 4-2. They've gone to generate a little different pass rush, so a couple different personnel guys in there in that 4-man defensive front on 3rd down.
Smith wants the screen. Pass it out in the flat, and Giannotti makes the tackle on Adams. Very unusual to see a quarterback pump toward one side and throw to the same side. Doesn't bode well for the success of the play.
Well, it was a little more successful than it looked like it was going to be. This is a big screen team as well. I mean, you see a lot of wide receiver screens out of Utah, a lot of running back tight end screens out of this Tulsa offense.
5 wide receivers, 3 to the near side, and an empty backfield. The junior Paul Smith. Now they put Adams back in at running back, and he will get it up to the 27-yard line. Or rather, they need to make almost the 27 for a first down. Talifo and Giannani were in on the tackle for the Utes.
One of the reasons why Charlie Stubbs, the offensive coordinator, wanted Adams in the ballgame more is he feels like he has more big play potential. Teneo is more the downhill runner. There's Charlie Stubbs on the sideline. But Terrion Adams, when he's healthy, has got more big play ability. And had a great freshman year, really bothered by knee and ankle problems throughout this season.
Adams trying to get the first down, bounces off one tackle, but can't get it. Good defense by Soli Lafitte from the end. And you have to believe that part of the change in defensive package is because of the suspension of Paul Soliai.
Yeah, that's going to affect things because he was one of the starting defensive tackles on the inside. That time just a nice reaction, a quick reaction by Lafitte on the defensive end. That's probably a read play that Paul Smith probably wishes he had back and would have kept on that play. Run that read zone and read the pursuit of that defensive end.
Paul Jurado will kick. Marquise Wilson is deep. And Wilson's going to let it go. They'll down it around the 31. Kyle Whittingham and Steve Cragthorpe have known each other since they were kids. When we come back, we'll tell you about their special connection. Welcome back to Fort Worth, Texas. 3-0. Utah over Tulsa. Let's go to Holly Rowe. Holly.
Well, guys, ironically, the coach from Utah and the coach from Tulsa spent their very first bowl experiences together as young boys at BYU. Dave Cragthorpe, the father of Steve, and Fred Whittingham, the father of Kyle, were on staff together in the early 70s for Lavelle Edwards and the Cougars. They said that some of their memories of each other as kids were hijinks, running around the hotel, having fun at bowl games. Guys, they've known each other in these football-connected families for a long time.
All right, thanks, Holly. Castile is set up as the running back. He's number 5, and he'll get the toss. And Castile taken down at the 36-yard line.
Well, Andy Ludwig told us that he was going to be the featured Ute in the offense tonight. We saw him carry it on a reverse the first play of the game. That time they lined him up in the tailback position. This is not a team that ran the ball as well as they're accustomed to in this offense. Only averaged 138 yards per game. Darrell Poston, their starting tailback, kind of an average year from that position. So finding other ways to get the ball to Castile and use his speed and quickness.
One little option here. And that didn't look very good as Ratliff is taken down. Let's check in with Reese Davis for SportsCenter 30 at 30. Reese?
All right, Mike, in a milestone day in college basketball, Bob Knight ties Dean Smith on the all-time victories list, win number 879 as Texas Tech beats Bucknell 72-60. Highly anticipated showdown between Florida and Ohio State in basketball. Torian Green led a huge second-half run, 86-60. The Gators win the basketball round. SportsCenter after the game, used all the time.
86-60. Free play. Ratliff spun down, ball came loose. No whistle, apparently. It looked like he hit the ground.
Well, they had a free play because Tulsa jumped off sides on that third down play. It won't give them a first down, but it will give Utah a shorter third down play to work with. Right now, I think Utah is having a little trouble.
Offside. Defense, number 33. 5-yard penalty. Repeat the third down.
Utah's having a little trouble right now finding where the pressure's coming from Tulsa. This is not a blitz-happy team, but in this 3-3-5 scheme, they bring pressure from different spots. The former defensive coordinator at Tulsa was Todd Graham, who went from Tulsa to West Virginia, implied the same defense there, and now is the head coach at Rice. Had an outstanding season this year, even though they lost their bowl game last night to Troy.
You just have so many options if you want to bring a blitz. Here comes more pressure, and the pass incomplete, intended for Godfrey. He was sandwiched between two defenders, and a very nice job. Blackshear was there, and Kedrick Alexander was also there.
And Blackshear, number 4, is going to come into your screen from the top left. He almost came up with an interception. He reads the quarterback, sees where the route is, gets his hand on the football. Nice defensive possession that time by the Golden Hurricane.
Sakota and the Utes, #1 in the country in net punting. As far as the NCAA is concerned, it is a team statistic. He has punted brilliantly. They have covered brilliantly. And a loose ball. Let's see who's strongest. Usually the guy at the bottom doesn't end up with it. Utah comes out with the football, but they have not made a signal yet. Or Tulsa comes out with the ball, and Tulsa will get possession.
Wow, they're lucky. Very,
yes,
very lucky.
Mike Bryan gets the recovery.
Idris Moss was a little loose with the football. The ball came out. Very fortunate. The white jerseys got it back.
ESPN College Football, the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl, is brought to you by Bell Helicopter. As proud sponsor of the Armed Forces Bowl, Bell Helicopter would like to take this opportunity to salute all those who serve. Thank you. Radio Shack. For the perfect holiday gifts, get to your neighborhood Radio Shack today. And K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K.
Back in Fort Worth, Texas, a very compact, very walkable shopping district downtown in Fort Worth. Very pleasant. And Utah with a first quarter lead here at 3-0 over the Golden Hurricane of Tulsa. And Tulsa will take over at its own 20-yard line after nearly fumbling this away. Tenale is the running back. Slips the tackle across the 25-30, almost the 35-yard line. Courtney Tenale.
That's what I think Tulsa needs to do, is not panic. They're only down 3-0. This is a good running football team, averaging 168 yards per game. It's 4 senior offensive linemen. They can spread you out with formation with their wide receivers, and Tenale is an outstanding downhill runner. That's his strength, running with power downhill in between the tackles.
And Justin Morsey, the only sophomore, threw a very good block for him. Terrion Adams is in the backfield. And Adams will go out in the flat and catch that little swing pass. Stays on his feet over the 40 to the 42-yard line. Good balance by Terrion Adams.
Well, Paul Smith has had another outstanding season. He led Tulsa last year as a sophomore to the Conference USA Championship. And he's missing one of his main weapons from last year. Last year he had a tight end in Garrett Mills, who was the leading receiver on this team. 87 catches for over 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. Mills got drafted by the New England Patriots, and they have not had a tight end that has done anything near that in the offense this year. So he's had to kind of change where he's thrown the football this season.
Movement up front, and it looked like Morsey, who had thrown the excellent block a couple of plays ago, was early on this one.
Gave him the kiss of death, didn't he?
Absolutely.
False start. Number 53. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
I realize how good I am at that after doing college basketball games and doing free throws on guys. You mentioned they've hit 16 in a row. You know where the next one's going. And Morsey jumped ahead of the count there. That cost 5. It'll be back at 2nd and a long 6. Good run that time, and he's got another first down out to the 48-yard line. So whatever adjustments they have made on offense are starting to pay off in the ground game right now, Todd.
Again, he's a difficult guy to tackle. You've got to tackle him low. He's a powerful guy. Interested in this whole story of Tulsa, the smallest of the 119 bowl subdivision teams in college football, an undergraduate enrollment of only 2,700. I say 2,796. Unique location.
Smith will try it himself and takes a late hit as he got to the 47-yard line. Smith may be shaking a little bit. Tulsa, of course, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and as Todd mentioned, the smallest undergraduate enrollment in what used to be Division 1A, and of course a private school.
You know, they're 120 miles away in different directions. You have the University of Oklahoma, you have Oklahoma State, you have the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Small school, but the city of Tulsa, over 600,000 people, and Steve Cragthorpe says it's kind of like Tulsa's team. We have a lot of people that support our program that didn't go to Tulsa, but they like our football program.
Tanail again inside the 40. Cragthorpe, in his 4th year, he already has gotten 3 contract extensions. That's how happy they are with him, and they have a group, as you can do with a private school. The Booster Club is raising $1.5 million over 3 years to donate to Cragthorpe and his coaching staff and the school's athletic department. And when he took over, they had had 2 miserable years in a row, and he's won 29 games in 4 seasons. Another little swing. This one to Adams.
I like this. You know, they're pounding him inside with Tanail, and then they're swinging the ball out and getting the ball to their speed guy, Adams, on the outside. Nice little blend for the Tulsa offense right now.
Good drive for the Golden Hurricane. They pick up 13 there. That's the end of the quarter. 3-0 in Fort Worth.
We wish the Armed Forces Bowl a very, Merry Christmas.
Go First Army.
Our thanks to the troops, and here at the Armed Forces Bowl tonight, Bell Helicopter will be honoring a different branch of the service in each quarter.
Navy sponsored the first quarter. Second one that we're in now is courtesy of the Marine Corps.
Tanail is the running back behind Smith. Now they get Adams back there. Smith on the option. You just get the feeling watching both of these guys run, it's almost a play to keep you honest.
Yeah. Well, and both teams like to use the zone read, and if the end dictates that you pull that ball out, that's what you have to do. It looks like Paul Smith got his foot banged up a little bit on that play. But the whole deal on that is you want to run the zone play, and as long as that defensive end comes up the field at all, you let that ball in the belly of the back and let him run it. But if he crashes down on that zone play, the read for the quarterback is to pull it out and run the option on the outside.
2nd and 7. Adams in the flat. Got a block. Terrion Adams down to the 10. Steve Tate had to make the tackle.
Charles Ramsey, the tight end, number 88, with a big-time block on the outside as well. They've gotten a lot of mileage out of this little swing pass right now. I mean, that has been their best pass play. It gets it out of the quarterback's hands quickly. It's an easy flip out there for Paul Smith. And Terrion Adams is showing that he knows what to do with it when he catches it. Came into the game with 22 receptions. That's about a half a dozen here tonight, I think.
They'll run this with Tenale, dragging a tackler with him to the 1. They'll mark it about a foot away from the goal line. A determined run by Adams. Steve Tate chewing up turf as he held on.
I think what we've seen in this drive that started at the end of the first quarter and moving into the beginning of the second is this veteran offensive line of Tulsa starting to control a little bit up front. Again, you mentioned the suspension of Solier, one of their starting defensive tackles. Maybe is a factor right now on that inside run. The guy who's replaced him, Kanapi Eliapo, a redshirt freshman. He's a big kid, but just has not played much in the starting role. First time tonight.
2nd and goal, empty backfield, quarterback keeper. Ball came loose, no whistle, no signal. Now the signal, touchdown.
Yeah, all the ball has to do is cross the plane, which I thought it did. I thought even before he reached it out the extra part, it was over. Right there, I think it's a touchdown. As the ball's crossed the plane, and he reaches it out at the end, and it comes out. It's always kind of dangerous, particularly for a quarterback, to reach that ball out around the goal line. But they may take a look at it.
That's the beauty of this replay system. They can look at anything.
Never have liked that, you know, that reaching the ball out. Too many bad things can happen. You know, you talk all the time about tucking the football, protect the football, don't be loose with the football, and then you get down around the goal line and guys try to stretch it out over the goal line. It's dangerous.
The Utah University head coach has challenged the play. We'll review the play.
We haven't seen a whole lot of challenges in the games that we've done.
No. I think that's because they so routinely look at every play, and coaches do not have to challenge. The downside of the challenge, if you're wrong, you lose the timeout.
It's an interesting play. Watch the ball get popped out of Paul Smith's hands. Now, I think he's able to tuck it back in and secure it as he goes to the ground. But that ball almost came out before it got to the goal line. See, he hasn't retucked right now. And then it comes out a second time. We've seen some slippery footballs here tonight already. The punt return by Moss. And now the goal line dive by Paul Smith.
The edge of the ball only has to cross the front edge of the white stripe. That's all.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It's a touchdown. Utah is charged with their first team timeout.
And I think that's the right call.
Yeah, I do too. But what we didn't see until that last round of replays was that ball almost got knocked out before he got to the goal line. Paul Smith was fortunate to be able to get possession of that before he hit the ground.
Point after for Jared Tracy. He's hit 43 of 44 this year. An 80-yard drive for the Golden Hurricane, and they go ahead 7-3. And Santa enjoying a little football before he has to take off and deliver all the goodies. Well, at least he looks happy. Yeah. Maybe he's done. Maybe he's gotten all the toys loaded. Nice drive by Tulsa. Tenale had 40 yards on that drive. Bryce McCain trying to bring it back, taken down to 22. Time now to get to know Brent Castile a little bit better.
Brent Castile, one of the things that I like doing on my downtime is playing pool. Play maybe a few hours a night is one of the things that keeps me calm and focused. Most important person right now is my young pride and joy, my daughter Kamira. Her birthday is today. I want to send you a happy birthday, baby. I'll be home soon, and can't wait to see you.
He's out of San Francisco, and because of an injury early in his senior year, the Pac-10 schools backed off of him, and it's to Utah's benefit that he ended up here.
Foul. Face mask on the kicking team. 15-yard penalty. First down.
Well, they called this a personal foul, which means he used the face mask to make the tackle. He did have his hand around the face mask, but I don't think he grabbed the face mask. Watch it. It's up there around. I don't know. I can see why they would have called it.
Kenny Spotwood is the guilty player.
Bottom line is Utah with excellent field position right now for their offense.
Ratliff leads them out. And they'll try to run with Darrell Mack. Just the conventional straight-ahead runs they have not done all that well. Walter Boyd in on the tackle. It's more of the wide stuff that's given them some success.
Pretty impressed with how this Tulsa defense has played so far. Really, the key to the defense is that nose guard, Terrell Nemmons, number 99. He is kind of the anchor for the defense, a 320-pound guy that's got to draw a lot of attention on the middle. That frees up those linebackers to fly around and make plays.
He's lost almost 30 pounds during the year and kept his strength and agility and everything else up, and that's unusual. Nearly an interception as the receiver Castile appeared to lose his balance and fall down, and the pass nearly picked by Nick Graham.
Field in excellent condition. We haven't seen any slips so far. That time Castile not able to get his feet up underneath him. And this is a team that had 22 interceptions last season, Tulsa, and only 7 this year. So a real drop-off in the fact they had the fewest forced turnovers of any team in college football, 12.
Ratliff throws this one up for grabs, and Derek Richards went up and got it. Richards, who leads this club in catches with 53 during the regular season.
They're working on Julian McGowan, number 13. And that ball is just a situation, it's a jump ball. And most of the time, offensive guys are better at going up and judging their jump and catching the football at the high point than a defensive back is.
Gain of 27. McGowan was not beaten on the play, just never turned around to give himself a better shot at the ball. Ratliff throws the out. Once again, Richards.
One of the guys, the key anchor on the offensive line for this Utah team, Tabo Tupola, number 78, is a fascinating story to me. He's 6'4", 311 pounds. But when he came to BYU, or came to Utah out of high school, he was a 185-pound free safety. I can't even imagine that. He went on his 2-year Mormon mission, as a lot of these Utah players do, and he went to Arizona and he gained 130 pounds in his 2 years away. That's fascinating.
Sounds like his mission was to eat.
Yeah. A lot of burritos.
For more on that, let's check in with Holly.
Well, guys, the craziest thing is when he got home from his mission, he went up to the University of Utah, walked into Kyle Whittingham's office, and Kyle had no idea who he was. He had changed so much. He's like, wow, what happened to my safety?
He's now a nose guard.
Yeah. But he's an outstanding left tackle. I mean, he's had 44 starts in his career. He's really the anchor of that offensive line. First team Mountain West Conference performer this season.
A lot of time. Now he's flushed. Throws on the run down to the 5. The catch made by Castile. There's a flag down on the play as well. Castile was tackled by the safety, Anthony Germany. Ratliff checking out the call. Ineligible man downfield.
Well, let's let him sort it out for us here.
Illegal touching. Number 5 offense. The receiver went out of bounds voluntarily, came back, was the first to touch the ball. It's lost it down. Second down.
Excuse me, illegal touching, not ineligible downfield. First to touch it after going out of bounds. You can see his left foot coming back in.
Went out of bounds on his own. Was not forced out of bounds. And the loss of down also a critical aspect of that penalty.
Castile on the toss, can't get outside, trips and goes down to 23.
Second time in a row now we've seen Castile kind of lose his footing. I don't know if he slipped or tripped over his own guy, but a loss of yardage on the play. And now a 3rd and long for Utah. They had a nice thing going, had a good drive going. A penalty and a loss of yardage run, and now they're 3rd and 12.
The last drive, Brian Hernandez was the featured receiver. This time it's Derek Richards, 26. Let's see if they go back to him on 3rd and long. 4-man rush. Ratliff flushed and taken down at the 21.
Excellent job on pursuit by Chris Chamberlain, number 32. Just barely got enough of Ratliff's foot to trip him up. Nice job coming from the outside. Here he is. He beats the back and then slips in and just gets barely enough of the foot of Ratliff to trip him up. Excellent pursuit by Chamberlain.
Players hustling on and off the field. Sakota will try from 39. He has already hit from 45 tonight. Right down the middle, Sakota has delivered from 39 and 45. Utah pulls to within 1 point of Tulsa. Here at the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth, Texas. We're in Fort Worth, Texas for the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl, and it's Tulsa against Utah. Good first half so far, 7-6. Glad you could join us for a little pre-Christmas bowling on ESPN. Tulsa first back-to-back bowl appearances since they did it in 64 and 65, and Utah 5-0 in their last 5 tries in bowls since 1999. Some teams just have a knack for winning bowl games, don't they?
Yep.
Big military representation tonight, as you might expect. That's Dexter Taylor. He's deep for Vroman's kick. And taken by one of the up men, runs into his own guy and advances it over the 25 to the 26-yard line.
Well, the last time Tulsa had the football, put together a nice 80-yard scoring drive, and it was a good mixture of the inside running of Teneo and the outside swing throws to Adams. Adams had 4 catches on the drive, and Teneo had 4 rushes on the drive, and Paul Smith able to get it into the end zone for the last yard on the sneak. But it was good balance. The short swing passes and the inside running of Courtney Teneo. And Tulsa got the first touchdown in the ballgame.
Same setup with Teneo and Adams in the split backs. Adams this time tripped up. J.J. Williams, the redshirt freshman linebacker who has become a starter, was on the bottom of that pile, tripping him up. He got a chance after a variety of injuries to the linebacker corps, and now as a redshirt freshman at 6 feet 225, they can't get him out of the lineup.
And he had his best game of the season in the last time out against BYU, a career-high 13 tackles. This is a guy who has taken advantage of his opportunities, played mostly special teams before the injuries, and Now he's kind of solidified himself as a starter.
Smith, another screen. Teneo. Chased out of bounds. Good hustle by Talivo. 319 pounds, and look at the speed he showed going to the sideline. Time now to get to know Paul Smith a little better.
Hi, I'm Paul Smith, quarterback at TU, who gets way too much credit for our success. Something crazy that people don't know about me, I love to play the guitar and sing. I do that for our praise and worship at the University of Tulsa Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I love to share my faith anytime I get the chance because the Lord's truly blessed me. My wonderful dad taught me how to play the guitar. I always watched him when I was a little kid, and I fell in love with it.
I was bigger than he was.
Yeah.
Holy smoke.
How did he hold on to that?
I don't know. Donnie Johnson did as Bryce McCain just unloaded on him.
Maybe the fact that Bryce McCain's only 5'9", 174, but he packed all 174 pounds of it into that hit right there. Man. And that's one you don't want to throw on a cover two where that corner's peeling off his wide out. He's just setting up for that little inside route.
Oh, that's a decleater.
Yeah, Paul Smith's got to apologize to Donnie Johnson.
Yeah.
Say, I hurt you there, buddy. Great punt.
Weddle is deep, the All-American. Didn't have much of a chance on that one, taken down at the 24-yard line. Return of 3 after a punt of 45, and Kedrick Alexander did a great job on special teams.
ESPN College Football, the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl, is brought to you by the United States Marine Corps, the few, the proud, the Marines. ESPN Game Plan. Buy your bowl game package on ESPN.com's Game Plan online and catch over 20 bowl games live and on demand. And Aflac. Ask about it at work.
Welcome back to Fort Worth, Texas. Nothing quite like a Marine uniform, is there? Drew Pearson, one of the famous Tulsa alumni, on hand tonight. Great wide receiver, and not only at Tulsa, but with the Dallas Cowboys for a long time. Ratliff got a block across the 30. Stiff arm gives him a couple of more, finally knocked down by Kedrick Alexander.
So far, defensive coordinator for Tulsa, Keith Patterson, has to be pretty pleased. Prior to that play, only 78 yards of offense for Utah. Team coming in averaging over 365 yards a game. But done a nice job of really taking care of the running game. There's Keith Patterson. First year as the defensive coordinator, his 4th year at Tulsa.
And they're giving up as a team less than 300 yards a game, so they're pretty happy with their defensive prowess. That's Darrell Poston, the running back, going absolutely nowhere. Bunting, Spotwood, both there. And in Conference USA, Tulsa was second against scoring, first against passing, first total defense, and they were 6th in the country in pass defense. Only 151.9 a game. That's getting it done. Poston and Castile are the backs, and now they switch up. Ratliff short set underneath, nearly picked. Almost intercepted by Nelson Coleman, the middle linebacker.
Well, this is the second time that Tulsa almost came away with an interception. Here's Coleman right here in the middle. He's just going to read the eyes of the quarterback and step right in front of the throw. Again, this is a defense that had 22 interceptions a year ago, and this year only 7. And when you don't catch one when they're thrown right to you, you don't get as many interceptions.
I think the hands may have graduated. Moss going to have to let it roll, and it will die inside the 25-yard line. Here's tonight's Aflac trivia question. How many teams in the Football Bowl subdivision, formerly Division 1A, have nicknames not ending in the letter
S.
Now, this will take you some time.
I love this question.
And all of them are in the ESPN College Football Encyclopedia. Just take your time.
Yeah, but the good thing about this question, you can't just go to some page in the encyclopedia and get the answer. You've got to work for it. You got to work and think.
We don't like cheating. 5:19 and counting here in the first half. Toss play going absolutely nowhere, and Adams run down by the Utah pursuit. Kyle Brady, number 14, backup linebacker, getting to see some action, made that last tackle.
We talked about the lack of forced turnovers by this Tulsa offense. In their 3-game losing streak at the end of the year, it was a big result was because of their turnovers. They lost the turnover battle 7-1 in those 3 losses.
Smith, deep drop, looking around, throws. This one is complete out to the 49-yard line. And it's Ryan Bugg, who had 42 catches coming in. That's a gain of 26.
Boy, I'll tell you what Paul Smith did here. He did a great job of using his eyes and a little shoulder shrug to move Eric Weddle. Watch him give a little shrug and use his eyes. He holds Weddle up on the underneath coverage and then throws behind him. Weddle is a guy who wants to make plays. He's a playmaker, so he's going to take some chances. He's reading the quarterback. He thought he was throwing short, and Paul Smith threw right over his head for a big completion.
Hands it off this time to Nail, and the ball is down on the ground, and Utah has it.
Just talked about the turnovers and what a problem that was at the end of the year for Tulsa.
Weddle, the All-American, came up with a loose ball.
It looks like a good handoff. It looks like Taneo has it into the line, and then it just, as he's reaching for extra yardage, the ball is ripped out.
Gabe Long, the defensive tackle, had him. Ball came out before he was down, and it will be Utah's ball. So Long made the tackle and forced the fumble, and Weddle, the All-American do everything, came up with it. Now they're going to review this play.
You know how you say a guy has a nose for the football? Eric Weddle is a guy that has a nose for the football. He's always around it. Question here, was his knee down before the ball came out? I don't think it was. He was just fighting and stretching for extra yardage and didn't secure the football.
Long got his right hand in there, but at least got a piece of it, and it came loose. And we've got a timeout on the field. Exactly 4 minutes to go. First half in a 7-6 game. Back after this. Todd, we saw them both this year. What do you think?
Well, I think the biggest issue in that game to me is which team is in the best frame of mind. Both those teams thought they were going to be frying some bigger fish here at the end of the year. And so which team has the greatest sense of urgency and focus in that ball game?
Castile trying to get wide and does. Knocked out of bounds across the 50. And you see that so often. If a team wants to be in a bowl and they're looking forward to it, they have a much better shot than a team that might be better physically that is disappointed to be where they are.
And neither one of these teams should be disappointed for playing in the Rose Bowl, because it's a great treat, it's a great reward, and it should be a great football game. Obviously, a lot of people feel that Michigan should have been playing for the national championship. USC had a chance that they would have beaten UCLA at the end of the year. I think it's going to be an outstanding football game.
Blitz coming. Ratliff just got rid of it. Completes it to Godfrey as he got drilled. Let's check in with Reese.
All right, guys, coming up on the Smith-Barney halftime report, Bob Knight ties the dean on the all-time wins list. We'll show you how Texas Tech did it. New Mexico came about this close to having a chance to end their bowl drought, and we'll also show you why running with the Bulls is almost as difficult as trying to skip with them. We'll see you at halftime.
One of the fascinating things I always found about Bobby Knight is I think he would rather lose a game and have played well than have played poorly and won. He respects the game that much. Complete pass out to the 31. He always tells his players, you're competing against the game of basketball, not the other team. And you're competing against yourself and your ability to play the game the way it's supposed to be played.
It's Anthony Germany who's on the sideline getting his shoulder looked at, the starting strong safety, or spur safety as they call it in the Tulsa defensive nomenclature.
Boy, he is in some obvious pain. Tried to hand it off to Castillo and take it to him, fumbled, and Tulsa got it back. Ratliff could not come up with it. Brandon Jones recovers.
Well, the reason Ratliff could not come up with it is because he didn't dive onto the ball. He tried to pick it up off of the ground, and then he got hit. This is about the 4th time we've seen the ball come loose today, and I've got a reason to think about that. See, he doesn't make the handoff. Instead of falling on the ball like he should have, he tries to pick it up at his feet, and then he gets hit and knocked off the course of the ball, and Tulsa comes up with the turnover.
He never got the snap clearly. That's why he could not get the ball to Castillo, and you could tell by Castillo's reaction it was supposed to be a handoff.
He was going to run the football, absolutely.
So Tulsa with a chance now, plenty of time in the half, 2:55, an excellent starting field position. End around on the toss to Moss.
Well,
Utah defense did beautifully.
How about the running ability of Martell Burnett, number 93, on that play? I thought that was going to be a decent play on the reverse to Moss, and Martell Burnett, the defensive end, 6'3", 252 pounds, almost ran it down by himself. Watch Burnett chase the play, number 93. That's excellent pursuit. Doesn't get the tackle, but he forced Moss to keep going wide and never got turned upfield to make it into a big play.
And Weddle was over there to make the tackle. He told us he loves to talk to his opponents, but it's not trash talk. It's how you doing? Things going all right? Isn't it fun to be here? You know, your mother makes great cookies, whatever. He is just that kind of a kid. Moss bobbled it. Did he hang on to it?
You want to make the point about we've seen some turnovers tonight. We've seen the ball come loose, and even ones that were recovered by the team that fumbled. But you got to remember one thing. The last time these two teams played, Tulsa played on November 24th. Utah played on November 25th. True. They haven't gone a lot of live work in practice since that last game in the bowl game. And ball security is something that, you know, if you don't do a lot of live work, if you're not used to being tackled and protecting the football, it's sometimes can get set aside a little bit.
Teneo on the screen.
Well, I like how Paul Smith runs the screens. He took a shot at the end of this play, but what you tell a quarterback in screens is to allow that rush to get as close as you can. And you don't want to give the screen away by just continuing to drift and drop back. You're going to drop and set and let that rush come to you, and at the last minute, flip it out there.
Talivo, their best defensive lineman, limped off the field. Somebody caught him from behind in what really looked like a clip. And the all-conference tackle limped off the field.
Remember, they're already missing the guy that lined up next to him all season, Paul Solier, number 90, who was suspended for violation of a team rule. Looks like Hamister Reese is going to be the guy that blocks behind on Talivo. Here's Kelly Talivo right here pursuing the screen pass.
He just...
Yeah, it was just on his own after the hit. Just kind of his foot went in the ground, kind of awkwardly trying to regain his balance.
They hyperextended that right knee.
Plus, that's 320 pounds coming down on that left leg, too.
Blitz coming, quick throw, and complete to Bug. Played his first 2 years of college ball of the JUCO variety, and then came to Tulsa. And they, like Wake Forest, this year was such a great season, have found that you can mix tremendously high academic standards to success on the football field. And that's a great thing to see.
And Rice as well. Actually, the four smallest schools in this division of football, all in bowl games. Tulsa, Rice, Wake Forest, and Navy.
And hats off to all of them. Try a screen. It's tipped intended for Adams. And it was Long who got a hand up to knock it down. I'm surprised there hasn't been more of that with that short screen game. And there's a look at what we're talking about. Tulsa with an undergrad enrollment of only 2796. Rice, Wake Forest, and Navy. Schools far more known for their academic achievements than their athletic achievements. But they found a way to get it done. And you know they're going to do it the right way.
Well, we saw Wake Forest in their final regular season game against Maryland. We'll see him again next week in the Orange Bowl against Louisville.
Congratulations to Jim Grove because he won the first of those huge Coach of the Year awards. And heaven knows he was deserving of that. Pressure again and a sack by about a half yard.
Martell Burnett did a great job of not giving up on this play because he came around the outside, and when Paul Smith stepped up and tried to move away, he got him on the second effort.
And he's the leading sacker on this ball club.
Remember earlier in the game when Paul Smith got up and he was looking at his right foot? He doesn't look like he's 100% healthy right now. He doesn't look as quick a foot as he normally is, and you can see him kind of hobbling off the field right here. I think he did that earlier in the game, and I think he's continuing to aggravate it. Two sacks allowed tonight. Again, this was one of the best in the country at protecting their quarterback, but their quarterback is not 100% and as quick and able to move away from the pressure as he has been in the past.
That's the play in the first quarter. He came up limping after that, and he was favoring his foot a little bit later. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, guys, Paul Smith has a couple of things happening right now. He has got his left knee with a special wrap on it underneath his uniform. It seems to be bothering him. He keeps stretching it out here on the sideline, so that's a previous injury before this evening. On that play that you just saw on the replay, he injured the right knee and was getting up really limping on that, and then the foot. So right now, neither leg is really 100% for Paul Smith, and he's just gutting it out there to try to stay as mobile as he can for his team right now.
All right, Holly, thanks so much. 1:14 to go in the half. It's a 1-point Tulsa lead.
And that's tough because this offense is in a lot of ways predicated on his ability to move, not just to run the football, but they do a lot of throwing on the run. They move the pocket a lot, which requires the quarterback to be mobile and able to do those kind of things. And he's a little limited right now in his movement. Tough kid. His dad, Ron, is a high school coach. Steve Craigthorpe said when he met him, he reminded him a lot of himself. You know, he's a coach's son, very bright, had a real fire inside to be a great player. Only 164 pounds when he arrived at Tulsa, but he's gotten a little bit bigger, but a great leader.
Jurado to kick to Wilson. Say, if I'm a recruiter and I find a coach's son, I want him. They're all so smart. They understand the game so well. Wilson from the 10. We gave you the Aflac question earlier. How many teams in the Football Bowl subdivision, formerly Division 1A, have nicknames not ending in the letter S, like the Tulsa Golden Hurricane? Well, there's 12 of them. Alabama Crimson Tide, Illinois Fighting Illini, Marshall, the Thundering Herd, the Midshipmen, NC State Wolfpack, the Nevada Wolfpack, the Mean Green of North Texas, the Fighting Irish, the Cardinal, the Orange, the Green Wave, and of course the Tulsa Golden Hurricane.
I love that question.
I think you got them.
You know who
Did you get them all this
No,
morning?
I didn't get the Mean Green of North Texas this morning. I didn't have that one. I had 11. I didn't have that one.
Well, that was also And the nickname in the longest yard, the Mean Green.
The
Mean Machine.
That didn't
end at S.
Also, right. We could have put them in there. Mean Machine. Mean Machine. That's right.
2nd and 6 for Ratliff and the Utes offense. They have been held to 2 field goals here in the first half. Pressure on Ratliff, throws underneath out to the 31-yard line to Brandon Godfrey.
Utah with 1 timeout left, trying to hurry to the line of scrimmage. Don't think you want to do anything crazy right here if you're Brett Ratliff, taking any drastic chances.
And they won't. They'll give it off to Poston, trying to catch him going to sleep on a little draw. And no great sense of urgency right here. The clock stops on the first down momentarily at 25.
Neither team has done much in terms of throwing the ball vertically tonight. They had the one fade pass Utah did in the first half. See, that's what I mean. I just want to go into the locker room on Utah right now.
That was the linebacker Chris Chamberlain, who guessed right on the route, got out there and just couldn't quite come up with it.
I bet they run this play. This will be a run here.
That's when you know you're dealing with a smart football player, a guy who has studied some tape, because he knew exactly where that ball was going by the reaction of Ratliff and the wide receiver. 16 seconds left in the half. Ratliff wants to throw again. Now he'll take off. 40, midfield, and stepped out of bounds at the 49 with 8 seconds left. Another 20 yards, they get a field goal try.
Good decision that time by Ratliff. Now you think, okay, now we're across the 50. We've got time to maybe throw one more to the sideline or anywhere, because you've got 1 timeout, and try to set up Sakota one more time. He's been your only scoring so far.
This way you can play with the whole field with that 1 timeout.
Coming into tonight, he was 1 for 3 in field goal kicks between 40 and 49 yards, but he made the 45-yarder on his first kick.
Four-man rush, good protection. Ratliff, deep sideline, and that one's complete to Marquise Wilson.
Boy, beautiful throw.
Wasn't it?
Tell you what, how about the confidence that Kyle Whittingham and Andy Ludwig showing in Brett Ratliff after the near interception, come back and call 2 more pass plays. He scrambles for 1 and throws a beautiful throw to Wilson on that one.
Nice grab. So the ball's at the 24. They'll have a chance at around a 41-yard field goal. And Sakota has already hit 2 tonight. Sometimes it's a little difficult to tell when teams haven't played each other. And of course, these teams from different conferences, and we haven't seen either one of them this year to figure out what they're going to do against each other. But it appears they're pretty well matched, aren't they?
Yeah, they are pretty well matched. I mean, both defenses, I think, have played pretty well this first half. The offenses have mounted a couple drives. But I think both defenses have really kind of controlled things here in the first half. Now, those last couple plays by Utah gives them a chance to really seize momentum going into the locker room. It looked like Tulsa would go in with the lead, but if Sakota knocks this one through, Utah will go in with the lead. That's big in a game like this. Two teams playing pretty well even, and 2 defenses playing pretty well. That last shot right before the halftime can be big.
Maybe the biggest difference in the second half will be the physical condition of Paul Smith and what he's able to do.
Absolutely, because he's actually the guy that makes that offense go for Tulsa, and his ability to move and make plays on the run, very important part of what they do offensively.
They have picked up 43 yards on the last 2 plays with time winding down here. And you heard Holly talk about the physical problem for Smith. So Sakota, who is 2 for 2, will try from 41, and Tulsa will use a timeout.
Did you happen to hear, by any chance, Billy Packer talking on the basketball game today about what he would do in football?
I did not.
He was talking about using a guy like a basketball player with the great wingspan and leaping ability and creating a football position for them called the eliminator to block extra points and field goals.
Why not?
Made a lot of sense.
You
really
got
did.
85 scholarships. If you can get somebody that's 6'8" with the arm span of a 7-footer. Yeah. Billy comes up with some good ideas.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Pretty sharp fella. For all you Mountain West fans, let's take a look at some early bowl results, and it's been pretty good so far out in San Diego. TCU a winner. Brigham Young a big winner over Oregon. I think it was BYU was a better team, but Oregon had those silly helmets, and I think that cost them 10 points.
Well, and the difference, too, TCU was very impressive against a team from the Mid-American Conference. BYU's win was against a team from the Pac-10, Oregon. And a lot of people expected that to be a much better game. BYU, the only team that both of these two teams played. The Cougars beat both of them.
New Mexico had a big loss earlier. That's the only blemish on the record. Sakota with that slight draw knocks it right down the middle again. So the offensive star, Louis Sakota, 3 for 3 on long field goals.
And look at the difference in body language. A little walking and jogging off by Tulsa, a little more sprinting off by Utah. A little momentum swing right here at the end of the first half.
Tulsa with the only touchdown. Utah has the halftime lead. Let's go to Holly.
Coach, your quarterback appears to be hobbling a little bit. How would that affect his mobility in the second half?
You know, it looks like he's moving around in the pocket all right, and he looks like he can still escape. I think he'll be fine.
The players told us yesterday they're very familiar with what Utah did because they're kind of similar to you. How do you think that familiarity is playing out in the first half?
Well, it's been a seesaw battle. There's no doubt about it. Each team has done some good things moving the ball, and the defenses have stepped up on occasion. We just got to find a way to score one more than they do tonight.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, Holly, our halftime score, Utah 9, Tulsa 7. Let's join Reese Davis. He has the Smith-Barney halftime report.
This is the Smith-Barney halftime report.
Louis Sakota in the early bidding for a helmet sticker on College Football Final later on tonight. Doug Flutie, Lou Holtz, and Mark May, who loves to give helmet stickers to kickers at any opportunity you can.
Not a chance. If we're giving a helmet sticker out, it's going to be for quarterback Brett Ratliff to manage that team, to take them down the field to play with about 70 seconds to go, to put a score on the board to take the lead before halftime and gain the momentum. So far in the first half, I thought that was key for the Utah football.
Yeah, but we don't give helmet stickers to somebody that's on the losing team. And I personally believe that Tulsa will win the game for one reason. They have more quickness, a little bit more speed overall. It's a very very lean. Yeah. That'll be my next trick. Football game.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go with Paul Smith over there on the offensive side. Tulsa will get it together. Smith's very efficient, manages the game extremely well. I don't know, can you run any more screens? How many different screens do they have? They got to stretch the field a little bit better and get the ball up the field, make some big plays, though. They're not finishing drives.
I don't know about you guys, but I was really paying attention and listening to the game, and our own Holly Roll said, they asked Steve Craigford, what's the matter with Paul Smith? He's gimpy. He's out there limping around, has a bad ankle, is not running around. Come on, guys. The quarterback's not healthy. Got to go with the Utah quarterback.
Coach speak. Coach speak. Got to cover up some of those things.
And we hope all the men and women who are in harm's way have a wonderful and safe holiday. First half stats. Couldn't get much more even. 158 to 156. 2-point difference. 2-yard difference. We have a 2-point difference in the ball game. 9-7 Utah over Tulsa. Both defenses have done very well here in the first half, perhaps because the offenses are similar, so the defense gets a good look at the same kind of thing all year long in practice.
Yeah, they're used to playing and practicing against those spread out formations and teams that try to stretch you all over the field. I think what has to happen in the second half for either team to really kind of gain an advantage, in the passing game, they've got to get some big plays down the field. Both teams averaged just about 9 yards per completion in that first half. A lot of dink and dunk stuff. They didn't get anything down the field. And I think for Utah particularly, running the football, they didn't get anything out of their tailback position. Poston only 2 carries for 2 yards. I think maybe we'll see more of Eric Weddle at the quarterback position to run the football. And then for Tulsa, I think they got to keep giving it to Teneo because he had a pretty good first half running the football. They've got to count on him to be a little bit more of a workhorse in the second half.
Well, Utah has not run it well from the tailback position all year long. I mean, Poston had a career-high 72 yards that he matched this year. So they don't get much production out of that. They get a lot more out of the gimmick plays, handing it to the wideouts on reverse plays, and Weddle in there taking the direct snap as a shotgun quarterback.
I think we'll see more of Weddle in this second half at the quarterback position.
Utah will get it first as we start the second half. And Bryce McCain on the return. Let's check in with Holly.
Guys, we're just in the middle of a collision here, so I'm a little bit flustered here. But I talked to Kyle Whittingham at the half, and he said that running attack that Tulsa started to find there in the second quarter, they've started to slant more, and he feels like they've started to tighten it down and eliminate some of that success Tulsa had in the running game. We'll see if they can continue that in the second half. But he said the most important thing, they got to find the end zone. They've been moving the ball, getting within field goal range, but not punching it in. That's got to change for the Utes.
All right, Holly, thanks very much. Ratliff out of the shotgun. Blitz coming with a fourth man, and there's the throw you're looking for, Todd. The one downfield tipped away.
Well, they hit
coverage by Roberts, intended for Freddie Brown.
Yeah, they hit one like that in the first half. It was really the only big pass play of the first half for Utah. I mean, both quarterbacks have thrown the ball for a high percentage in the ball game. They just haven't gotten any big chunk plays. Chunks of yardage plays as you take a look at the comparison of Paul Smith and Brett Ratliff. Neither has thrown an interception, although Ratliff's been close to throwing a couple.
Pressure coming from the outside, and Ratliff throws the completion to Godfrey, who's averaged almost 18 yards a catch this year. Only had 18 during the regular season, but he's made them count.
Is a big target. You know, they have some small receivers. Godfrey's 6'3", 197 pounds, so he's a little bigger target for Brett Ratliff to find down the middle of the defense.
First and 10 Utah. They have been held to 3 field goals, but have the 9-7 lead. Poston just hasn't been much for him there.
You know, Holly talks about not finding the end zone for Kyle Whittingham's team, and when you struggle to run the football, that makes a difference. You move the football and you get in the red zone, and if you really don't have a running threat inside the red zone, it makes it tough. 39 yards rushing, and probably half of that, or close to half of it, has been by Brett Ratliff on a couple scrambles. So when it comes to just straight out running plays, they've not done much against this Tulsa defense.
Poston, another one of those guys that had a tremendous future potential stamped on his forehead coming out of high school. Had 3,400 yards rushing in Huntington Beach in California. This one down the middle, nice catch by Godfrey. Hung on even though he knew he was going to take a hit. And a nice throw by Ratliff.
Well, again, he's a big target, 6'3", running down the middle of the seam of the defense. Good protection. Ratliff finds him in the middle, and he does a great job of hanging on, knowing he's going to get hit.
That's a real whack from Graham, the corner, but the damage was done.
There's Weddle.
There's Weddle, the All-American, down to the 30. You know, Weddle's a lot faster than he looks. He says he was timed in 4.4 a couple of years ago and thought if he had to be timed again, he could get down to that again. His wife, Chanel. He is truly the All-American boy. He is so much fun to talk to. So bright and so charming.
See, if he would change his name like Tony Dorsett to Waddell, it could be Chanel Waddell.
There he goes again, picking his way, stiff arm.
Face mask
down
at the
to
end,
the 20.
too. Did they call it?
Yep,
here it
flag
comes.
came in late.
Well, they've gotten a little bit of everything. They got the big throw down the field from Ratliff, and now Weddle's into the game and gives him a couple good runs out of the quarterback position. You just have to have balance in your offense. You can't let a team just dictate that you have to throw every down. Hard to protect your quarterback that way.
Blackshire is going to be called for the face mask, and that will move it down to the 10-yard line. 37 out of 80. Normally he is up around 60-65%. He's out of the lineup now. Ratliff in the shotgun, and little trick play, and that one is going to work.
That worked a couple years ago in the Fiesta Bowl, too, and a touchdown against Pittsburgh.
Brett Castillo gets the touchdown. It's a flanker screen, turns into a hook and ladder. That is pretty.
That is pretty. Well, the first thing has to be the catch. You've got to make the good throw and catch, and Castillo is the beneficiary at the other end.
Hernandez makes the catch and the lateral. Well, you got to practice that a few times to get it right. There's so much involved there. Hernandez has to get rid of it immediately, and Castillo has to be in the right place, and it worked to perfection.
Good call in the red zone, too. Kyle Whittingham saying we need to find the end zone. The trick play got it in for him.
Utah with its first touchdown, and they've taken the lead over Tulsa. Nice block downfield, too. 16-7 Utah over Tulsa. Let's look at the touchdown, Todd.
Well, it was a beautifully executed play. Castillo's the guy who gets the catch. That's him right here. He's going to come in motion and wait for the lateral, but this play doesn't work if you don't get great blocking. And Fano Tagovailoa, number 17, is going to get a great block, as well as Braden Godfrey. Here's the two blocks by the wideouts. Castillo gets the touchdown, but those two guys get the big-time blocks right at the goal line, and Castillo in. Beautiful execution on the Utah touchdown.
If you like statistical anomalies, Castillo, as a receiver, no catches, 5 yards and a touchdown, because he got that ball in a lateral. He did not catch it. Tulsa on the return. Dexter Taylor. Let's go back to the Fiesta Bowl, January 1st, 2005. Number 5 Utah against Pitt. First ever BCS game ever for a non-BCS school. And Utah steamrolled Pitt, and there is that play. Paris Warren, co-MVP with Alex Smith, who threw for 328 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Well, the interesting thing is that this is not the same spread offense that Urban Meyer had a couple years ago at Utah, but that play stayed around. You know, that one was one they say, you know what, we're going to keep that one in our playbook. We may not do all the other stuff. We're going to keep that one.
Here comes a blitz, and they run against it with Adams, and Adams wrapped up before he even had a chance to get any traction. Soli Lafiti, defensive end, made the tackle.
We saw Brett Ratliff in Utah's first drive strike down the field a little bit. Can Paul Smith do it for this Tulsa offense? Both passing games need to get some chunk of yardage type pass plays.
Got 4 wide receivers out on this pattern underneath to Adams, and Adams will be chased out of bounds at the 48-yard line.
Well, I like this Adams coming out of the backfield catching the football. He has excellent hands. Here's Paul Smith, 11 of 13, but look, everything underneath. Only one throw down the field for 25 yards. That one there was a pretty good completion. It was a short throw that Adams turned into a longer type game. Moss is the go-to guy, would be the down the field receiver.
And he has passed Gus Frerotte for 3rd all-time on the Tulsa passing list. Blitz coming, and down he goes. Never had a chance. Even if he doesn't lose his footing, 2 guys are right there, led by Lafiti, and Weddle was coming off the corner, the All-American defensive back.
A nice call by Gary Anderson, the defensive coordinator, timing that blitz, calling it at the right time, and a little play action. It was a slower developing play action pass for Paul Smith, and you're right, he wouldn't have had a chance even if he does keep his footing.
Weddle at the corner can sometimes get lost because they just not throw his way. He's so good. His future may be at safety where he will be more involved.
Here he comes again
on every play. He's on the blitz here. It's a screen. Teneo gets back to the original line of scrimmage. Let's go to Holly.
Guys, after that last score by Utah, the sideline on the Tulsa side just kind of deflated. You know, you look at the scoreboard, they're not down by that much, and it seems like Steve Kragthorpe kind of sensed that. He came back and spoke to each guy that was sitting along the bench, and he literally said, guys, get your heads up. And the guys kind of looked at him. He said, no, lift your heads up. He actually asked them to get their heads up, put their chins up, and quit looking down, quit being frustrated.
Well, Holly, that was the same thing Todd mentioned when the teams were leaving the field at the half. The body language for Tulsa. Here's a little swing, and it's going to be incomplete in front of Adams, and he couldn't quite hang on to it.
And I'm thinking that Gary Anderson, the defensive coordinator, is sensing that Paul Smith doesn't have the same mobility, going along with him, more pressure. Drew Bledsoe played for Steve Kragthorpe. Kragthorpe's 2 years at Buffalo. Steve Kragthorpe said he loved coaching in the NFL, loved the challenge, the football part of it, but he really felt like he was mortgaging his family for the sake of football, and made the decision to get back in college ball.
And it's not like they don't work hard as a coaching staff at Tulsa. They do, and here's a great bounce on the punt. And Tulsa able to let it go down all the way to the 1 yard line before they down it there. 50-yard punt with the roll, and Utah's going to have to start from their 1 yard line. Steve Kragthorpe has a unique approach to balancing football and family. When we come back, we'll tell you all about it.
ESPN College Football, the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl, is brought to you by Pontiac. Vote now for the Pontiac Game-Changing Performance of the Year at ESPN.com, keyword Pontiac. A $100,000 scholarship contribution is on the line. And ESPN Game Plan. Buy your bowl game package on ESPN.com's Game Plan online and catch over 20 bowl games live and on demand.
Holiday decorations in downtown Fort Worth, Texas. We're here for the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl, and the Utes will have to start from their own 1, up 16-7.
First time we've seen this kind of field position for either team. Very important for Tulsa's defense to keep them down there.
Ratliff out of the end zone, and he got it out to his favorite receiver, Derek Richards, and get them some breathing room. I think it's probably a safer play for them than they're trying to run with Poston with the tailback 7 yards deep in the end zone.
It's a quick throw. Ratliff seems to be, again, over the last 5-6 games, making good decisions when he throws, where he throws.
Ratliff on the keeper, first down and more, out near the 20-yard line. This young man was a late bloomer, really didn't get to play any high school football of any note until he was a senior.
Well, how about the fact that when he was a freshman in high school, he was only 5'3", and he obviously was a late bloomer. 6'4", 224 pounds now. Played as a senior. His high school team was 1-9. Was not a heavily recruited guy. Went to Butte College near his home in Chico, California. Got better, played a few more years, and ended up here at Utah.
When you're 1-9, you're not going to be recruited heavily. Castile showing you some of his speed, and Castile down to the 40-yard line. So 3 plays, they go from the 1 to the opponent's 40, and that gallop was 40 yards for Castile.
And that is really deflating. Holly talked about that Tulsa sideline. When you have them pinned down on the 1 and 3 plays, they make it look easy. Castillo reversing his field, doing a nice job setting up blocks. A good run by Ratliff, and an even better run now by Castillo. And not only are they out from their own 1-yard line, they're in Tulsa territory.
And Richards sustained a good block for a long time downfield to add yardage to that run. Ratliff with time goes underneath. Richards again down to the 27-yard line. So Utah has found something they like against this Tulsa defense in the second half.
Well, they're protecting their quarterback very well. Not a lot of pressure around Brett Ratliff. Time to sit back there, read the field, find the open man. I'll tell you the thing about this Utah team, too, is 7-5, and Kyle Whittingham said, hey, we're not thrilled with finishing 7-5. And let's face it, when you go undefeated and play in a BCS bowl game and win like they did in 2004 under Urban Meyer, it raises the bar of expectation dramatically for your program. Wasn't too many years ago when 7-5 and going to a bowl game would have been huge for the University of Utah. That's right. Not huge anymore.
No, things have changed. You're absolutely right.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 88, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
To wide receiver Freddie Brown, there have been very few penalty flags tonight. Utah 0-3 against BCS top 25 teams, 7-2 against all the other clubs that they played. They lost a crushing game in the final play of the regular season, lost on the final play to BYU. An 11-yard touchdown pass with no time left on the clock. And Weddle, their All-American. I mean, a first and second team All-American by everybody. Castillo again, this time just inside the 30-yard line.
You know, I watched the tape of that game, and I really, it was a fun game to watch, the BYU-Utah game, and you begin to get a new appreciation. I've seen a lot of great rivalries. I've done Ohio State, Michigan, and Auburn, Alabama, and you don't know as much. I didn't know as much about the intensity of BYU-Utah, but that is an intense rivalry. Every bit as intense as those other rivalries in college football. It was a great football game, right down to the wire.
Weddle in as the quarterback laterals to Castillo. The defense, everybody went for Weddle, and Castillo will pick up about 6 yards. Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, I live in that BYU-Utah rivalry, and I can tell you it's pretty intense. But each of the Utah players and coaches had a different way of getting over that gut-wrenching loss. Kyle Whittingham says, I've never watched the tape. I don't know how long it'll be till I can watch that tape. But other guys, Brent Castillo says, I've watched it 6 times. I'm trying to see what we could have done better. They said that it had some sting to it, but Brett Ratliff said, hey, if we can win this bowl game and go out with a positive note, it might take away a little bit of that sting.
Well, one of the reasons Castillo may have watched is he had over 100 yards receiving. It's a pretty good game for him. Having a pretty good game tonight as well.
Utah takes a timeout with 4:49 to go, third quarter. As you might imagine, we get really tired of getting on airplanes, but this would be one that's worth getting on. It's about a 10-hour flight from Dallas to Honolulu, and we will continue our bowl road trip tomorrow night. Arizona State and Hawaii.
We will not continue.
No, we won't. We'd like to. Wouldn't be half bad. And it's Christmas Eve, Arizona State against Hawaii, the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl on ESPN at 8 Eastern. Also available on ESPN Radio.
Colt Brennan, the quarterback for Hawaii, had an outstanding season. Better than most people even know about. The top quarterbacks in college football.
Tulsa needs a defensive stand here. Ratliff searching all day. Now he takes off, caught from behind and brought down at the 17-yard line by the Conference Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bunting.
It's good coverage downfield because Ratliff had plenty of time to find somebody to throw to. He bought a little extra time with his mobility, but nobody to throw the football to. And he's tackled after a minimal gain.
field goal here, if they could hold them to that, would still be only a 2-possession game. They'll go with the running game to Mack. And Mack's down inside the 12-yard line. Coleman, the middle linebacker, on the stop for the Golden Hurricane.
There goes the Weddle again. I think it's a good move down here in the red zone. Put him in at quarterback.
It's like he's good for 5 or 6 every time he touches.
Well, and the Tulsa defense, a lot of hands on hips right now. They started this drive on the 1-yard line. They're tired and frustrated.
Weddle takes the direct snap, and a flag is down. Play clock may have run out.
It's interesting this year in college football that this is somewhat of a novelty, but it's been very popular and it's been very successful in a couple different places, putting a different kind of a quarterback in. Of course, Florida with Urban Meyer, they've used Tim Tebow in their success. Now he's a quarterback.
The snap, an illegal snap, number 63 offense, 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
He got a kick out of that call. He got a chuckle into himself there. But Tim Tebow at Florida comes in as the running quarterback, and then they did more with him as the season went on. Arkansas, great success this year. Darren McFadden, their great tailback, direct snaps from the quarterback position, doing a lot of the things that Eric Weddle does, running the zone handoff, the key, threw a few passes.
Weddle comes out, and Ratliff will come back in as it is now 2nd and 11. Well, they contend any position they would put Weddle out at, except the offensive and defensive lines, he'd probably be the best on the team, if not the conference, at any one of those positions. Ratliff pump fake, now chased. Floats for the end zone and too far for Castile.
Tulsa came with pressure on that second down play. I think they're feeling like they've got to do something to get to Brett Ratliff. They got some pressure in the second quarter, and ever since then they've not been able to get around the quarterback too much. He's had too much time to pick and choose what he wants to do. Bringing some pressure with some linebackers off the edge. They force Ratliff out of the pocket and then force him to throw it away.
Now 3rd and 11.
I'm not so sure I wouldn't try to come after him again on this 3rd down play as well.
And this one is incomplete as Godfrey lost his footing and went down. The 3rd time we have seen a Utah receiver fall as he tried to make a cut.
Well, I thought he ran into the Tulsa defender. I'm glad I didn't know that they were didn't think they should have called anything. I thought he ran into the Tulsa defender and fell down, and a good no call and a good stop finally by Tulsa.
Keep in mind that this drive started at the 1-yard line. Tulsa did everything they needed to on defense and special teams. They backed them up, and Sakota will now try from 34. He's hit from 39, 41, and 45. Just to make it a 12-point game. And he has been perfect all night long.
The Mountain West Conference this year for the first time started a Special Teams Player of the Year, and Louis Sakota, the co-winner of that award. He's proven his mettle tonight.
Drew Bledsoe, when he was the quarterback in Buffalo, played for quarterback coach Craig Thorpe.
I think he's got the rally cap on now. When we saw him the first time, his hat was turned around front, right?
Yeah.
It's a little sense of urgency now for the Tulsa Golden Hurricane as Utah is starting to take control in this football game.
Dexter Taylor is deep. Short kick taken by Grooms, and Grooms with a good return took it out to the 42-yard line. We'll check in with Reese Davis for a Sports Center 30 at 30 update.
All right, Mike, SportsCenter 30 at 30. Bob Knight has tied Dean Smith with 879 victories. Texas Tech beat Bucknell. Knight and Smith tied atop Division I all-time men's wins list. Florida blew out Ohio State in a battle of basketball giants. 26-point victory. An omen for football. SportsCenter after the game, guys.
Well, I don't know about an omen for football, but having seen Ohio State play before, I can't imagine them losing to anybody by 26 points. That is remarkable for Billy Donovan and his Gators. Adams on the screen, and Utah defends it perfectly.
Yeah. A lot of blitzing by Eric Weddle in this second half. They're not playing him as a corner. They want him more involved in the defensive game. And a lot of times if you're a corner, you're just kind of out there on an island, and so many screens and throws to the running back. He's a non-factor in the defense. So they've moved him inside. And part of that is because they've got one of their corners, Eric Shine, back from an injury. He had a rib injury in early December. They weren't sure he'd be able to play in the bowl game. But he's been playing tonight, and that's enabled them to make Weddle more of a factor on the inside of the defense.
Paul Smith will go with the quick screen again, and Utah just sending the red shirts right out there. Moss made that catch, and I mean, they are sprinting to the sideline after those catches.
Well, again, that's Martell Burnett, and the speed from his defensive end position running out there to that screen. Moss thought he had something, turning back to the inside, and he ran right into Big 93.
Now, he's only listed at 252, but he runs like he's about 215.
Yeah.
And now it's a big 3rd and 14 for Tulsa. The clock is winding down here in the third quarter. 3-man rush this time. Yes, 2 as one backs off. Smith trying to run for it and woefully short. They'll have to punt it on 4th and about 9. Knocked out of bounds by J.J. Williams, the redshirt freshman linebacker.
Well, they pressured on the early downs. On 3rd and long, they rushed through 2 and dropped 9. And Paul Smith nowhere to go with the football.
And he comes up gimpy again. Will have to kick it away. Hirado. Wilson is deep. Backpedals to the 9. Stays on his feet down the sideline to the 30. There's a flag down back at the 15-yard line after a 21-yard return. Usually indicates a block in the back at that point. We'll check it. And it will bring it back. You can help decide the Pontiac game-changing performance of the year. Vote at ESPN.com. Search Pontiac to determine which school will win the $100,000 General Scholarship Fund contribution, courtesy of Pontiac.
Which one would you vote for?
Clemson.
Yeah,
the
play. Gaines Adams.
I never saw momentum in a ball game. That was against Wake Forest. I never saw momentum in a game change that much. Yep. Wake Forest had that game won. It was totally dominating, and that play just shifted everything. I mean, the earth moved on that play.
Well, we were there for the block punt in the Auburn-Florida game. That turned that game quickly, too, because Florida dominated the first half of that game, and the block punt in the early part of the second half changed that game.
This is actually better field position for Utah than their last drive. They started at the 1 on that one. And this pass complete to Poston, and Poston's got a first down out to the 20. So Utah in the shadow of its own goalpost, no problem, just come out throwing.
Their offensive line has done a nice job here in the second half protecting Brett Ratliff. And Brett Ratliff very comfortable throwing the football right now.
And because of the new timing rules, the clock will start again. And we'll wind down the final seconds of the third quarter. 1 period to go from Fort Worth. 19-7. Utah over Tulsa. This telecast is available on ESPN HD, presented by Pioneer Plasma. And a great picture from HD, and you get a great picture in a flight simulator as well. That's what some of the fans were treated to this afternoon here at the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl. There's Weddle, one of those that got to go through.
He's everywhere.
Yes, he is. This one's complete to Hernandez on his knees up to 32. One of the great thrills I ever had in my life was getting to be in the flight simulator for the original Apollo command capsule, and all of us in our ROTC unit got to try to dock it with the space station, and we all killed ourselves, of course, but it was an experience of a lifetime. Utah starting to have a lot of offensive fun here in the second half. They have moved the ball extremely well, and Ratliff takes to one side, goes back to the other. That pass is going to be incomplete to Marquise Wilson. What a throw by Ratliff. Hit him in stride, and Wilson just couldn't hold on.
Well, you can just see how comfortable Brett Ratliff and confident he is. And I got to say it again, it's the offensive line. They're giving him time to stay in there and set his feet and be comfortable.
And Nick Graham saved that play by knocking the ball out of Wilson's hands.
Ratliff, it's interesting. He came in when Brian Johnson got hurt last year in the BYU game. Of all games to make your first start, your intense in-state rivalry.
This one incomplete, intended to Godfrey. Kedrick Alexander was covering there. Go to Holly.
Well, guys, you talk about the development of Brett Ratliff, and it's pretty remarkable. He wasn't even a quarterback till he got to high school. He played wide receiver all through his youth league, and he said, I always wanted to play quarterback but never had the chance. So he really made himself into a quarterback. After every practice, he'd go home, eat dinner, and then he and his dad, Galen, would go out and throw for an hour, hour and a half every single day through high school. That's given the opportunity to be where he is now.
Well, certainly he has reached, Holly, the height of his college career the last half of this year. He has thrown the ball so well. This one is overthrown, and it's intercepted by Blackshire, and Blackshire takes it back to the 36-yard line.
Well, he just got a little too comfortable. He's looked very good throwing the football. He got away with almost throwing a couple interceptions in the first half. This one sails on him. You don't want to throw that ball high over the middle. Bad things usually happen. And in this case, bad for him. Big time good for Tulsa. They needed something good to happen. Now they flip field position for their offense.
Blackshire with his 4th interception. And you're right, this was something they desperately needed, and now they have to take advantage of it. Down 2 touchdowns. Adams, nice hole up the middle. Adams, 20, makes a cut, and just barely tripped up by Steve Tate. The safety got enough to save the touchdown.
So they had wide receiver formation to spread that defense out, then a little inside give to Adams. Good blocking at the point of attack by this senior-led offensive line, and Adams breaks through to the secondary. One thing I wouldn't throw too much of anymore is those quick wide receiver screens. Utah really defending those well right now.
Tenale is the running back in this formation, and Tenale will get the carry. Tries the left side, nowhere to go. Knocked out of bounds to 19.
Talked about that. 12 turnovers forced coming into tonight. Tied for the fewest in all of college football. The teams that they were tied with, none of them made it into postseason play. 2 forced tonight.
It's hard to imagine you'd only force 12 turnovers in a 12-game season and still be 8-4.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy because last year they forced 36 turnovers. And turnovers, I mean, it's cyclical. It goes in cycles. And this was a down cycle for the Tulsa defense in terms of getting turnovers.
Smith fakes to Adams, tries to come back.
What a play by Weddle. What a play by Weddle. He was coming on a blitz, and he read the screen and dropped back into the screen and forced Paul Smith to throw it away.
Pretty smart, isn't he?
And what? This was a safety blitz. Here he comes. Whoops, I know it's coming. Let me get out underneath this screen and force him to throw it away.
How good is that? And most guys that come on a blitz, they just keep coming.
Yeah, with blinders on.
Yep.
That's the difference. He's an instinctive football player.
Now, whether he has the stuff to play corner at the next level or not, he'll play somewhere. Maybe safety, certainly special teams, but he's going to play somewhere, and he's going to play for a long time.
Look at this Utah defense. They're all standing up, not showing where the pressure's coming from.
Smith throws on the crossing route and a saving tackle inside the 10-yard line.
Puccinelli with a big-time tackle because it looked like Adams was going to get a first down. Look at all these guys. They don't want to show the offensive line who's going to rush, where they're coming from. They end up rushing 5. And watch the tackle by Puccinelli right at the end. Shoestring tackle stops him short of the first down. 4th and 1. Steve Cragthorpe and Charlie Stubbs opting to go for it here.
They need to reach the 7-yard line for the first down. Adams is the tailback. And he'll get the carry. First down.
Nice
down
run.
to the 2.
Good
dragging Steve
run.
Tate with him. It sure was.
And he's not the power runner. Teneo and Brandon Dials, who we've not seen at all tonight, are the 2 inside power runners. Adams more the shifty guy, but he shows power on this one. He knows he needs 1 yard for 4th down, runs right through the tackle by Steve Tate, the free safety, for a first down.
1st and goal. Adams. Quarterback instead. Smith on the bootleg, and he fell down.
He's just not right.
No, he's not.
His legs are...
Injuries to both knees and to his right foot.
He's kind of lost his balance here right away.
And he had rushed net almost 300 yards this year. Adams up the middle, just stopped short of the goal line. I mean by an inch.
Inside the 1.
And Steve Tate, the safety, up there doing his job again. It's going to be 3rd and goal. I don't think they can afford to go for a field goal here.
No.
They've got to get it in. They've gotten movement with Adams every time up front.
I would think they would try to go right here. Their right tackle, Jeff Parrott, 49 career starts, the anchor of the offensive line, and it's also away from Talivo, number 98.
Quarterback keeper, touchdown. Well, they crossed him up. Adams didn't even move. I mean, he's just standing there as a cheerleader. And Paul Smith, the quarterback, got in. I'm a little surprised by the call with the leg problems he showed on this series.
Well, I'm not surprised they didn't go behind him, though. Parrott, the right tackle, the tight end, they just crushed the left side of the Utah defense, and that was easy for Paul Smith.
First team all-conference tackle. And Smith waltzes in. The point after would make it 19-14.
He missed it.
He sure did. 19-13. Jared Tracy pushed it right and missed the extra point. Sergeant. May you and everybody over there be safe. With our deepest gratitude. 19-13 here in the fourth quarter. Steve Cragthorpe, an assistant coach and coordinator, and then went to the pros 2001-2002 with the Buffalo Bills under Greg Williams, and then came to Tulsa in 2003 and has been a roaring success at Tulsa.
He's been able to do some really neat things there, too, family-oriented wise. He and his wife Cynthia with 3 boys, very involved in the Tulsa program.
McCain on the return, hit and dragged down shy of the 20.
One of the things that he said, and Kyle Whittingham said the same thing, when their dads were on Lavelle Edwards' staff, as we look at some of Cragthorpe's boys before the game, you know, he said Lavelle Edwards made it really a fun place to be, and we encouraged the kids to be around, the families to be around, and he said, I had a blast being a coach's kid growing up in that environment. That's the environment he's trying to create for his coaching staff, and for his kids and their kids, and also for his own dad. That's right. There's his dad right there, Dave Cragthorpe, former head coach at Idaho State and Oregon State.
His dad makes $1 a year roaming the sideline. We talk about inflated salaries. Well, he's on the other end of the pendulum.
Yeah. He spends half his time at Tulsa as a consultant, and the other half he goes back to Utah. He lives in Logan, Utah. Steve said his dad's the only retired guy that goes to Utah for the winter.
It was funny talking to him. You talk to coaches about moving somewhere else, and sometimes you just get the, the boilerplate answers. You know there's no sincerity in it, but somebody's going to have to make him an unbelievable offer, I think, to pry him out of Tulsa. He likes the situation there. Ratliff with plenty of time and then throws. That's only going to pick up a couple of yards.
And look at the difference in the bounce and the step of the Tulsa defense after their offense scored a touchdown.
That was Anthony Germany laying a lick on Richards.
I mean, Ratliff got tattooed and Richards got tattooed, and they're bouncing and hopping and high-fiving. And just that success of their offense has re-energized the Golden Hurricane.
Ratliff throws complete. He's going to get a first down out of this. Freddie Brown took the catch and just dragged tacklers with him.
Boy, Ratliff is throwing the ball well today.
Yes,
I know he had the interception a little while ago, but for the most part, he has been really on target throwing the football.
Nick Graham was well off of Freddie Brown, and they took advantage of it. A little slant. Poston.
Nice job by Chamberlain reading the quarterback keep.
It was a nice fake. I actually thought they gave it to Poston, but Ratliff held it. Of course, from up here, I can barely tell there's a game going on. This is the highest booth I have ever seen. We had a flyover before the game started. They flew over everything else. They flew under us. Supplemental oxygen, the order of the night. Incomplete. Nobody there except for Nick Graham.
Little mix-up that time between Ratliff and his wideouts. Had 2 of them on that side of the field. Both of them broke their rods off short, and Ratliff threw the ball deep.
And usually, because you quarterbacks are so smart, that's a receiver's ball. Yeah, usually.
Third down play right now for Tulsa. Their defense, their crowd is in it. A stop here could be huge for their team.
Ratliff flanker screen. And they stopped him short. Castillo could not get to the sticks. Craver made the tackle, and Tulsa steps up on defense.
I really thought that Castillo was going to get the first down if he turns upfield. He kept moving sideline to the sideline and ultimately got brought down short of the first down. It looked to me like he was going to make that rather easily.
I mean, he's most of the way out toward the left sideline and comes all the way back across the formation. Sakota to kick to Moss. Low kick, gets a bounce.
Great bounce.
And we'll go down to the 6-yard line, down with 7:17 to go in the ball game. 50-yard kick. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, guys, I'm with Drew Bledsoe, who was actually the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills when Steve Crackthorpe was the quarterback coach. So what did you think when he came into you one day and said, I'm leaving the Bills for Tulsa?
I was bummed, first of all. I loved working with the guy, but then he explained to me why he wanted to come down to Tulsa and turn around a program and be able to spend some time with his family in a great situation. Tulsa's really, really, really lucky to have the guy, man. He's a great coach, great man, and I know he's going to continue to build a great program.
He said you said something to him at that time that really stuck with him, that you'd seen the football take a toll on families and coaches.
Oh yeah, you know, this game, it's a beautiful game, but you know, when you get to NFL football and big time college football, it takes a complete dedication, and a lot of times it can be really hard on a family. So when Steve made the decision to come down here, he took his family into consideration, and now, geez, he's had great success with the Golden Hurricanes. So I'm really happy for him.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Holly. And, you know, I think he has a really good approach to this because he says, you know, there's so much wasted time with coaches putting in 18-hour days that if you make better use of your time, then you can get all your work done and still have more time to, you know, actually have a life outside of the office and the practice field.
Well, these guys are in at 6 in the morning, and he says they get more done from 6 to 9 a.m. than they ever used to get from 7 to 10 p.m.
Tulsa trying to work on the ground game, and Adams has been stacked up twice in a row by Gabe Long, the big guy, just not buying anything up the middle.
A couple younger defensive linemen getting a lot of playing time tonight. Gabe Long, junior college transfer out of Fullerton College. Kanapi Eliapo, who started tonight, a redshirt freshman.
Third and 8. Smith goes to the shotgun and retreats into his end zone. Can't find anybody. Now Smith on the run and throws behind his receiver. He had Bug open.
Yep, sure did. Another time where Utah just rushed 2, so they dropped 9 into coverage, and Paul Smith had to leave the pocket. Watch, only 2 guys coming in. So he moves out, and he has a man, but he's rolling to his left and throwing back to his right and not able to keep that on the front shoulder of the receiver, Bug.
They're rushing the 2 guys and keeping Puccinelli, who's a defensive end, as a spy. All he is doing is mirroring Paul Smith, so he can't take off and run for it.
Good return.
Marquise Wilson down to the 37-yard line. And now here's tonight's storyline presented by Kay Jewelers. Paul Smith of Tulsa, 2 rushing touchdowns and 132 yards passing. Ratliff, especially with a good second half, up to 240 yards. And Sakota has been the offensive star with 4 field goals, all from 34 yards or longer.
Offensive, and then his last punt pinned Tulsa down inside the 10-yard line and a 3 and out. And Utah has the ball back in excellent position. Weddle back in at quarterback. Here he is right here. Eric Weddle.
Fakes the handoff and keeps. Does an excellent job of following his blockers. Just a little shoulder fake to set him up. Fake inside, then come right back to the outside. Always seems to pick up 5 or 6 yards.
Has a good feel for this part. You know, the package that he has is only 5 or 6 plays, but he has a good feel for it. Now, he can throw the football. I doubt we'll see him throw it tonight, but he did throw a touchdown pass in their last game against BYU.
Clock is a factor now, 4:35 and counting. It is a 6-point lead. If Utah could get a field goal out of this drive, it would be a 2-possession game again. Poston goes up the middle. Time to get to know everybody's All-American a little bit better.
Oh man, I'm a movie nut. Anytime a new movie comes out, I'm there. I'm in line, waiting to go see it. I've already seen all the new ones that come out, and you know, I love war movies, Braveheart, Gladiator. I love the Rockies. I love, you know, the Supermans. I love any kind of movie that, you know, relates to my life and any action. You know, I love, you know, the love stories as well. You know, Pursuit of Happiness I just saw and it really hit me.
Likes them all. Yeah, the new Rocky's coming out soon, right? 70-year-old Rocky Balboa going at it again.
You really have to have a sense of disbelief to go see that one, don't you? Put down $12 to see Rocky 60.
Meanwhile, Weddle gets another first down for Utah.
His wife Chanel trying to make sure everybody's at home seeing this.
She's a licensed social worker. Of course, Eric Weddle is very involved in the community, does an awful lot of stuff outside of his football and academics.
He's back in there at quarterback, fakes the handoff, goes straight up the middle, picks up 7. Let's bring in Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, one of the big questions about Eric Weddle is where would he play in the NFL? What position? I talked to some NFL scouts before the game, and they said they're not sure if he can be a corner, which is where he'd like to play. Eric says, you know, people have been doubting me my whole life. He said, I know there's not a lot of white cornerbacks in the NFL, but he said, I'd like to be given a chance because I think I can do it. We'll see if the NFL guys give him a chance.
Well, he'll play somewhere, I guarantee you. I mean, he is just too versatile and too talented as an athlete, too smart as a player. He'll play somewhere. Weddle again.
Right,
dives forward for maybe a yard in the arms of Nick Bunting.
Tulsa
working on the clock.
Tulsa's going to use a timeout. They've got all 3 of them. They need to save some of that clock if they can.
And hope Sakota doesn't make another field goal.
ESPN College Football, the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl, is brought to you by Bell Helicopter. As proud sponsor of the Armed Forces Bowl, Bell Helicopter would like to take this opportunity to salute all those who serve. Thank you. Olivia, redefining high def. And Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at mbusa.com.
That's the entertainment district in the center of Fort Worth, Sundance Square, named for the Sundance Kid who spent time in Fort Worth with Butch Cassidy.
I like Fort Worth.
I do too.
And I come back every year. I was fortunate enough to win the Davy O'Brien Award back in 1982. And they have the dinner and banquet honoring the new winner every February. I love to come back. It's a great event.
3rd and 2, huge play here. Weddle with a keeper, dives, first down. Speaking of great quarterback performances, when I checked into the hotel the other day, the first thing I saw was ESPN Classic, the Sugar Bowl, Penn State against Georgia, and Todd Blackledge, I believe on the 3rd play that I saw, a 60-yard touchdown pass. Very nice.
Thank you. Fun game. Fun team.
That was a good team.
Yeah. You know, we were the first offense to ever win a national championship by gaining more yards passing than rushing. We were the first to ever do that.
Is that right?
You see who they want the ball in whose hands here at the end of the ball game, don't you?
Weddle down to the 3. I'd want it in his hands too.
Absolutely.
That's a special talent there.
You mentioned that Air Force game when he played however many plays, and Fisher DeBerry talked to him after the game. They won that game 17-14. He scored both offensive touchdowns for Utah, in addition to playing well on defense.
Well, he had a sequence against San Diego State early in the year when he scored on a 2-yard touchdown run. On the next defensive series, he returned an interception for a touchdown. He ended the game 3 interceptions, 2 returned for touchdowns. I mean, he is just a remarkably gifted player.
And he's smart, too. Look, he's using the clock as much as he can, lets the play clock go down to 2.
It's open on the left, and he'll walk in for a touchdown.
Every run has been a follow back inside. That time he faked inside. The entire Tulsa defense went there, and he sidestepped outside for the touchdown.
The All-American may have just wrapped this one up. 10 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown. He will find a way during the course of a game to have a tremendous impact. Although it was a corner tonight, they stayed away from him virtually the entire game. So they shifted their focus with him to coming on the blitz, as you so ably pointed out. And now he gets a chance to star as the running back in a direct snap formation. And they're going to go for 2. Ratliff is back in as the quarterback.
Wow, Tulsa taking a second timeout.
It's not really where, if you need 2 scores, you want to use your second timeout. Kyle Whittingham already congratulating his players for what they have done. Particularly, they played well in the second half. They made some really good adjustments.
Ratliff threw the ball well, with the exception of one throw that was picked off. And Eric Weddle has given them what they've needed in the running game. They weren't getting it from anywhere else, but Eric Weddle has given them a spark running. And watch him fake inside. Jabs in, pops out, and there's no Tulsa defenders because every run to this point has been inside by Eric Weddle.
And then he knows exactly where his beautiful wife is sitting, finds her. It'll be interesting to see where he goes in the draft. Tell you what, if I'm a personnel guy in the NFL, I find a way to get him.
Well, you know he's going to be able to play on a bunch of special teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and he might even be a return guy as well.
Yeah. He'll certainly upgrade your locker room, if nothing else. That is a bright, pleasant young guy.
Well, for Kyle Whittingham, this if this holds on a minute 5, a big win for him. He said he was not happy, not thrilled with being 7-5, but the bottom line is this could be his second consecutive bowl victory. They beat Georgia Tech 38-10 last year in the Emerald Bowl. Pretty good bowl record so far for Kyle.
Ratliff rolling to his right, pumps twice, throws, incomplete. So it remains 25-13 with a minute 5 to go in the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl. Bob Knight's reaction on catching Dean Smith today. Why number 4 Florida blew out number 3 Ohio State, and the Chiefs in a must-win game against the Raiders. What a year for the Raiders. Yikes.
I heard Tom Jackson and the guys talking about it this morning. He said, you know, all you got to know about the Raiders is Randy Moss is the captain of the football team.
Oh. So disappointed for him that what he has done. And this will be recovered at the 35-yard line on the squib kick. Let's go to Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, this bowl win will be great for Kyle Whittingham, but nothing will be more important than seeing his son Tyler tonight. Tyler has been gone on a 2-year Mormon mission. He got back at 3 o'clock this morning from Brazil. He took a flight from Guyana, went to Sao Paulo, then Miami, then to Fort Worth, 40 hours of flying. He's been gone for 2 years, hasn't seen his dad, but he made it to the bowl game tonight, guys.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
That sure is.
It's a big part of this Utah program. They have about 30 players in their program that are going on the mission.
Blitz coming. You got to hand it to the Utah defense. After the initial drive for Tulsa to start this second half, they have been outstanding. Greg Newman made the tackle on that play. They have really shut down that screen game.
Got him now.
Clock running in Tulsa with only one timeout left. Get out of bounds to stop the clock there as the pass is complete to Moss.
I think the one thing that's hurt Tulsa, because of the speed of the Utah defense, they just haven't had any kind of a vertical threat against the Utah defense tonight.
And here is tonight's Capital One player of the game. And it's Louis Sakota, 4 out of 4 in the field goal department, 45-39, 41-34, as the nation's best punter, net punter, averaged 47-3 on his kicks.
You know it's the Christmas season when I'm signing off on a kicker being the MVP of the game. 'Tis the season to be jolly.
Quarterbacks and kickers do not normally go together. Although they can be your best friend, can't they?
Well, he was solid tonight. There's no question about that.
Tulsa only has 66 yards on offense this half. So the Utah defense stepped up when they had to. Quarterback draw with Smith. A little surprised by that call as well with his leg and foot problems. He'll have a chance to build on his records next year as the number 3 passer on their all-time list. Take a look at some of the Utah alumni that you might be familiar with and not know they were from Utah. John Willard Marriott, the founder of the hotel chain. David Nealman, founder and CEO of JetBlue Airways. Evelyn Wood, the queen of speed reading. And our own Holly Rowe, class of 91, Utah. Just a class of Utah. How's that?
Proud of her Beehive State roots.
And this will be 6 straight for Utah in the bowls. That would tie Boston College. Terrific second half.
Yeah, really was. I mean, the one touchdown drive Tulsa had was after the interception that Ratliff threw. Gave him a shorter field. Hit a couple plays, but for the most part, a dominating second half for Utah.
Also, keep in mind they could have easily been 8-4 had they won that game against Brigham Young. 8-4 coming into this would be 9-4 with a win here. But as it is, they will finish the season on a good note. Smith, with no pressure on him, throws on a run, incomplete with 8 seconds to go.
You know, I said I watched that BYU tape, the BYU-Utah game with great interest, and of course everybody talks about and will remember forever in that state the last play of the game when John Beck threw an 11-yard touchdown pass.
Yep.
But really the play to me that the game turned on was earlier in the fourth quarter when Utah had a 10-point lead, and they had BYU stop 3rd and 24, and there was a pass interference penalty down by the goal line that gave BYU an automatic first down, and they scored a couple plays later, and a stop there, and that game might have gone a completely different direction.
Yeah, if you give up 3rd and 24, they'll usually come back to haunt you. 2 seconds to go, and this will be another win for the Mountain West.
3-1 in bowl season.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Could win the BCC, not the BCS, but the Bowl Challenge Cup.
That's about as important to me as you You giving an award to a kicker.
Well, it's to the conference with the best bowl win percentage.
And Kyle Whittingham is looking across the field if Utah just called a timeout. And I don't think it's to get a bunch of guys in the game, and I can't think of any other reason why you would call a timeout.
Well, I think they only had 10 guys on. I don't think they had enough guys on the field, and
I'm not sure that's good enough reason with 2 seconds.
2 seconds and a 12-point lead.
Colt Brennan will need the nation's top offense and 1 touchdown short of the NCAA record tomorrow night, Christmas Eve. He'll go for the record as Hawaii meets the Arizona State Sun Devils. The Sheraton Hawaii Bowl on ESPN Sunday at 8 Eastern. Also available on ESPN Radio as our bowl road trip continues. And the Utes can celebrate. Bowl games are supposed to be a reward, and the kids were talking at the press conference the other day about how much fun they had already had here in Fort Worth, and the nice gifts they got from the bowl people.
It'll be a great holiday for Kyle Whittingham and his wife Jamie. Not only do they get Tyler back from the mission, Alyssa and Alex and Kylie, their other children.
Smith overthrown, and that one's intercepted by Weddle. And look what he did. Instead of trying to run it back and maybe rubbing it in, he simply took a knee. All-American in so many ways, and he just demonstrated his character.
And he just made his 18th career interception and 7th on the year.
Impressive second half by Utah as they step up and they beat Tulsa. The final score, Utah 25, Tulsa 13. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. On behalf of our entire ESPN crew and Todd Blackledge and Holly Rowe, this is Mike Patrick. Thank you for watching. Have a great Christmas, everybody, and good night from Fort Worth, Texas. Now stay tuned for SportsCenter.